Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this presentation and this demo. We're going to be talking about a couple of things. We're going to be learning how to use Git and GitHub to get feedback. Getting feedback is very useful, and it's very important in improving your coding is to get somebody who has more experience to have a look at it. It's also going to help you when you get stuck to be able to easily present your project and say, hey, please help me out. So in order to do that efficiently, we have to learn some new tools. So we're going to be answering two main questions in this presentation and in this demo. One, what are Git and GitHub? And two, how can I use them to get feedback? All right, let's begin with how to think about this. So let's say you're writing some code like you've been doing and you want to get some feedback, which should be pretty common. You could use one of the classic file sharing tools. You could use Dropbox or Slack, or you could email something, or there's probably a ton of other solutions out there to share files. But that has some downsides. Like every time you want to show some code to somebody, you're going to have to send some files back and forth. And for every change that you make, or for every suggestion or every comment, you're going to have to send those files again and again. And it might also become chaotic to do this if you do this many times. Maybe it will look something like this. So we have the new project, and then we have like the final version of it, and then the new final, and then with some new feedback you make some even more final. So yeah, you get the idea. So these are Photoshop files, but with your coding project, it will probably go in a similar way. So one other way to kind of avoid this is to use some online code editor. So like maybe if you use REPL-IT or CodePen or Glitch, something similar. And that's really nice because your code is kind of like a living document, and you can edit it together, maybe even with the person that you are getting feedback from. Because many of these editors have some live co-op mode where you can type code together, like you would in Google Docs, but this time with coding. There's also some downsides to using these kind of tools to get feedback. First of all, you have no insight as the person giving feedback how the project actually evolved. So what you tried first, or how you approach the problem. It's also very hard to give comments when you're not in co-op mode, because then it's very hard to kind of go into your version of the project and leave comments there, and they might get deleted, or you might change the code and it might not be relevant anymore. So it's not ideal to use these online editors, but it's already, when you're doing some live feedback session, it works pretty well. But people kind of have to be there for it to work really well. So the ideal situation is, of course, that for the person giving feedback, if your code is kind of like a living document, so you can see the latest version, but also have access to the history of your project, so you can see how it evolved over time, and maybe some previous ideas that you had, or how you what your approach was. It would also be really nice if it's easy to kind of comment and review it, so like that you can easily leave comments for certain lines. And it would be really nice to maybe, if you want to share some code as the person giving feedback, that you can give some suggestions. So just say like, hey, how about this? And then submit your own version of the code without overwriting the person that you're trying to help. This with most of these tools is not actually possible, or it's a lot of work. So a lot of professionals, they use Git and they use GitHub. So I guess I didn't size the picture properly, but down below is the logo of GitHub. So why do they use this, and what's the reason? What are these things, Git and GitHub? Why should you learn them? So Git is a version control tool. Now, what does that? What does that mean, and what can we use it for? Well, first of all, you can manage multiple versions of your code. So instead of having like one version, you can have multiple versions at the same time, and you can switch back and forth between different versions of your code. It's also very easy to track changes to your code. So you've maybe since you were coding today, you can see what you've actually changed from last time. You can even check the changes that you made maybe a couple of days ago. It's very easy to see how you changed the code. That's what it's made to do, this tool. And Git also makes a complete history of the project. So maybe if your project has been around for a while, or you've been working on this project for a month already, and or maybe you broke your project, you can just go back in history and check out like what it looked like at a certain point, or maybe if you broke it, you can check out what it looked like yesterday. So you can get your working version back. And eventually you can combine different versions of the code together, which is called merging. And that is what most programmers use to collaborate. Like one programmer has one version of the code, another programmer has another version of the code, and then they combine their efforts into a single piece of code by using git merge. But we're not going to go do that now necessarily, but eventually that's what you could use it for. So what is GitHub? Well, GitHub is a platform to host files and to host Git folders, which those two together you call a Git repository. And there are other platforms that do that as well. Like GitHub is just a very well-known one, but Bitbucket and GitLab, they kind of do the same thing. And there are probably also even more platforms than these three. So what can we use GitHub for? So Git is a version control tool. So what is GitHub? Well, GitHub is kind of like an online version of Git. So Git you would use on your own computer, but GitHub is like a hosted version on the internet, where everybody can easily have access to your files and your project history. So what you use it for is to share your code online, and you share your project history online, so people can have a look. You can very easily review each other's work and give feedback. For example, if two developers are working together and they are thinking of merging their code, maybe they have a look at their different versions to tell, and give each other some feedback. It also serves as a way to back up your code. Now, I mean, something might happen to your machine, something nasty, or you might lose it, or you have some terrible crash. And if you lose your file, so GitHub also serves as a backup for your code, so you don't lose it. And then eventually you can combine code from different developers online. You could do that on your own machine. You could get the version from another developer on your machine and combine it on your machine. But on GitHub you can just do that on the internet. And it has a very nice user interface for combining code, and so it's made to do that. So it's kind of an online version, online user interface to use Git in a friendly way. So we're going to do a demo of how to get feedback using GitHub, because mastering Git as a tool is very important if you want to become a professional software developer, because software developers like a team effort usually, but you can already benefit from using Git and GitHub just to put your code online for people to review it and to give you some feedback. So this is kind of the easiest way to start using it, or as a portfolio to present to people, like, look, this is what I can already do. So I'm going to show you a little bit how to do that. There's a couple of things that I will show you, a couple of different steps. One, well, you make a GitHub account. I'm not going to show you that. You can do that on your own. I assume you know how to make an account. We're going to make a new repository, which is a folder with a Git folder inside of it. We're going to be uploading some files and making what's called a commit. So that is sort of a version that you're saving And then we're going to upload files as a branch, which is a slightly different way of doing that. That way you're kind of splitting your first version of your project off from the second version, so you can get feedback on the latest thing you just worked on, for example. And making what's called a pull request, which is if you want to upload some new files and you want to combine those with your and make that sort of the latest version of the project, you can make a pull request, and that serves as a point in time for people to kind of give you feedback, like I'm about to, this project is kind of this part of the project is finished and I want to pull it into the rest of the project. So it serves for most professional people as a point in time to give feedback. In order to give feedback effectively, you have to add people as a collaborator to your repository. So I'll be showing you how to do that. And then how to ask for feedback on your pull request. Because you can just request a review and then GitHub will send an email to whoever you requested a review from. So those are some of the things that I'm going to be showing you. So first of all, let's assume that we have a project here. It's like a project folder. Inside are some files. Some small files with some code inside. Now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go and navigate to GitHub, and you'll notice that I'm already logged in probably. Yeah, so GitHub makes it quite easy to make a new repository. You can just press new over here, or you can say here a new repository. Let's for now let's stick with this new button here. So I like it. It's nice and green. Now of course the first step you take is you give a nice name to your repository so you know what it means. You tell you say who the owner is. Well, in your case it's probably just your personal account. You can give a description. So like what is this what's contained within this repository. Then you can choose between public and private. Public means that everybody can see it. Everybody on the internet can just have a look at your code. By default, all repositories are public. You can make them private, but you need to have a paid account for that. So in this case, I'm just going to make it public. You can initialize a README with a project with a README. I'm going to do that for now. You can add a license or a git ignore. We'll get into that with later videos. For now, let's just create the repository here by pressing the green button. Now we've created a repository, and there's a couple of things that we can see. First of all, this repository has one commit. Because that is let's have a look at what that's called. It's called the initial commit by default, and that is basically that the first that this repository was created, and that there was one file made, the README, that we initialized, and it just contains some default text. Now, if you go back to just the main screen, it has one commit. This way, this file is the sort of the latest version of this file. We can have a look at it to what it looks like. This is Markdown, so it will display as like nicely formatted text. So that's basically how you make a repository. The next step will be to actually upload some files and make your own commit, because we want to get that shiny folder from our desktop. We want to put that online for people to give feedback on our code. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using this button here, which is upload. It says upload files. So we will use that. Now you can just drag files here, and that will add them to this commit. so to this version that we or this sort of save point. But we can also just choose files here, and then we have to look for our files. Now I put my whole thing on desktop, I believe, so my project. So then we can select some files here that we want to add to our commit. So I can just say open all these files. Now it will start uploading them. You can see that we've uploaded 4 files: an HTML file, a CSS file, JavaScript file, and a Python file. So you can upload different kinds of code, different kinds of files. And then here we have 2 things that we can do. The first thing will be to commit directly to the master branch. So that means to update the current version of our project with this code, just immediately without asking for any sort of feedback. So we're going to do that first. So it's a sort of etiquette that you're going to say what you did for every commit. So to leave a nice commit message. So here it says by default, it says add files via upload. So I really like that. I upload and commit it directly to master. Oh, so it says complain. It should be short. So I'm gonna leave this as my commit message, and then I'm going to press the big green button and say commit changes. Now it's going to process our files. And so here we go. Now we can see we have 2 commits in this project, and you can see that in addition to the README that we made initially, that we have our 4 files here, and we can actually go and kind of check them out, like what they contain. So this is a very simple Hello World program in Python. So you can actually just have a look already at this code. So that's kind of nice, but it's still not that easy in this way to just give feedback on the code as is. That is easier if you upload your files using a pull request. So let's just say that we're going to be changing some code just to show you. I think we're going to be editing this code in Visual Studio Code. There we go. So let's edit this a little bit and say hello guys, and girls. So let's change something here, and then maybe change this as well. Some changes, and then maybe we change it here. Good. So now we've made some changes to these files, and now this time we're gonna ask somebody to actually review this code. So we do the same process all over again. We say we're gonna upload some files. And we're gonna choose them. We choose to upload these files here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this time, instead of committing them directly to the branches, to the master branch, which is sort of the main version of the project, we're going to say create a new branch, and we're going to call this branch hello new greeting or something, so that somebody knows like what is actually in this latest version that I'm uploading. And then I'm going to commit these changes by saying change greeting and then I'm going to propose changes. Now this time, instead of just immediately committing, we are going to open a pull request. We're already going to do that automatically. And opening a pull request, it's a little bit different. First of all, you can write something that you did. So here you can say something like what this pull request does. So you can just explain to your colleague or to your reviewer like what actually happened. So change the hello world to hello guys and girls, for example. And then that's nice just to make it clear what you actually changed. But if somebody wants to actually see all the things you changed, that person can just scroll down here, and in red will be everything that you changed, and the green will be the sort of the new version. So you can kind of see that this is a really sort of easy way to see what has changed for a reviewer. You can even ask for a reviewer here, so you can request a review. So but for now we're just going to say create pull request, and right now we are just going to leave this pull request as open, so people can just have a look at what files changed and what commits you actually made. And you can have a conversation here already, so that's really nice. Now, of course, having a conversation with yourself, that's not going to help out that much. So this works really well, and also like asking for a review works well if you've added at least one collaborator. So that is what I'm going to show you what to do next. So you go to the settings panel here. So we were here before, and here is you're in this pull request, and then you can go to settings to add a collaborator. Under this heading, collaborators. Now sometimes it might ask you for your password again, because adding collaborators means you're giving them at least partial control of this project. So here you can kind of browse everybody by GitHub name. So here you would have to look me up, for example. You would have to say I'm Plant, which is me, and you could add me here as a collaborator. Now I'm going to show you a project in which I already have a collaborator to show you how to ask for a review. So we leave this window open temporarily, and we go to GitHub, the main thing. So I made another a project. Oh no, that's the wrong one. I made another project called example, and here I added a collaborator called Berat, and I also created a pull request here. And because I added this collaborator here, I can now ask him for a review like that. So, and by just clicking him here, he's been requested. Now he should get a email from GitHub to say, hey, please review this pull request, and that way you can actually give me some feedback on this. So when he's going to review this, for example, you can look at all the lines in this project, and then for every line you can just click and leave some suggestions here for different lines. So that's really a nice way to give feedback for somebody, and for you to be able to read that in an easy way. So we're almost done with this demonstration. So this is our original project again, and when you're done making the pull request, and when you're done getting some feedback, the final thing is to merge the pull request into your main version, so into your master branch of the project, and that will actually update this project's main version. So here, if we check out this Python program, for example, it now says hello guys and girls, but If you are interested in what happened over the course of history, you could still have a look at the original versions of it. So you can see how the project evolved. So that is really very nice to be able to do as a reviewer. So one more thing. If you add a collaborator like this, so if you would add a collaborator over here and add this person, he would get an email and he would have to approve this invitation first before they can actually comment. So if you want to add each other, for example, have a look in your email and then you should be able to comment on each other's projects. All right, now let's wrap up with a small assignment. The next thing will be to make a repository yourself, to add me as a collaborator. So this is my GitHub handle, you should be able to find me. Upload some files as a branch, make a pull request and ask for feedback. So that way I can have a look at what you did. That's all. If you have any questions, send me an email or hit me up on GitHub or something. And have a nice day. Bye bye.